recycled paper. The process that's used in this activity is the same basic process that is used by recycling plants to make new paper from old. To minimize mess, it's a good idea to do this activity outside if possible. Start by having your campers go outside to collect leaves and flowers or other decorative add-ins that they'd like to add to their recycled paper. Each camper will need their own wooden screen. Screens should be placed so that the wooden part of the frame is touching the ground. The campers can then arrange their flowers and leaves face down on the screen. Once your camper's trays have been prepared, head back inside and fill your blender 2/3 of the way full with water. Then sprinkle in 2 handfuls of shredded paper. Use the long spoon to sink the paper to the bottom of the water. Secure the lid and blend until the paper pulp has the consistency of oatmeal. You may need to add more water or paper if it doesn't have the right consistency. After you've created enough pulp for all your campers, you'll head outside. You'll need to make sure to grab 1 felt square, 1 rolling pin, and 1 sponge for each camper. Have each camper hold their screen one at a time over the tub. You'll then spoon the pulp over the screen. Be sure not to fill the entire screen. Their paper will spread quite a bit as they roll it out. Instruct the campers to use a sponge to gently press the excess water through the screen. The water will come out easily with light pressing. Make sure that they don't press too hard or they could tear the screen. Make sure most of the water is pressed out. Next, give each camper their felt square. Have the children flip the screen over onto the felt square. The paper should detach from the screen. The campers will then use their rolling pins to further flatten the paper and squeeze out water. If any of their decorations pop up, the campers can add a little bit of pulp to the edges of each decoration to reattach them. After the campers have flattened the paper and squeezed out more of the water, they can turn their felt over onto a cardboard or plate and then leave their paper to dry. Be sure and have the campers write their name on their cardboard piece. The paper will take a few hours to dry, so you'll want to move on to other activities, and it should be dry by the time that the campers get ready to go home for the day. In Lake in a Bottle, you'll use a story to show the campers the harmful effects of pollution. You'll need a tub of water and 14 different film canisters that will represent different items and people in your story. The film canisters will be clearly marked. Some containers may be pre-filled when you pick up your kit, and others, such as the containers with liquids like vinegar, soapy water, or soy sauce, you'll need to prepare on site. The tub of water will represent your lake. Select campers to be characters in your story and give each of them a labeled film canister. When the campers hear their character or material in the story, they'll add the contents of their film canister to the lake. You can use the story provided in your manual, or you can even make up your own. Have the campers observe that at the beginning of the story, our lake is clean with just things like soil, rocks, and leaves inside the lake. However, soon the lake is affected by picnickers who leave food, careless people who litter and leave things like cigarette butts and food wrappers, motorboat oil left by boaters, chemicals from a painter who spilled turpentine, Smith family whose broken pipes are causing soap to leak into the lake, along with sludge from their busted pipes, Farmer Joe's pesticides, motor oil from cars that drive by, acid rain, toxic sludge from a nearby factory, and then show the children the effects of fish that are living in this lake. In the arms of the angel. You can then have your campers discuss about the dramatic difference between the lake now and at the beginning of the story. In Pollution Solution, your campers will use a variety of different materials to build and test water filtration systems. Start by adding a small amount of soil to a pitcher of clean water. This is the liquid that the campers will attempt to filter. Divide the campers into groups and let each group choose a different material to test. They'll choose from sand, cotton balls, gravel, fabric, or a coffee filter. After the groups have selected a material, they'll need to build their filtration system. The exact items in your kit may vary, but should be similar to these supplies. Each group will need a clear cup, a flower pot with drainage holes, a larger pot or bucket with no drainage holes, and a plastic saucer. It's also a good idea to have paper towels on hand, or you could do this activity outside. To build, start by placing the flower pot or bucket without drainage holes onto the plastic saucer. Next, place the clear plastic cup into the pot. Next, place the flower pot with drainage holes on top of the clear cup. Then, the chosen filtering material should go inside the pot with the drainage holes. We'll start by testing the gravel. We'll then pour each group 2 cups of dirty water. 1 cup will be for testing, and the other will act as a control so they can compare their results. Next, have the campers slowly pour 1 cup of their water over the filtering material. As they do, the water should drain down into the clear cup below. Have the campers carefully remove their flower pot with filtering material and lift out their clear slime cup. They can then compare their filtered water to the control cup and observe any differences. Since each group will have tested a different material, you can then line up their results to see which material they think worked the best. To expand on this activity, you can let the groups combine filtering materials to create an even more powerful filter. Let them experiment and be creative with their ideas. In solar cooking, the campers will experiment with solar energy and use a solar cooker to create a snack. Be sure that before you let any of the children eat the results of the experiment, that you double check your roster for food allergies and also check with parents at drop-off to let them know what the campers will be taste testing. If you don't have a fridge at your campsite, you'll need to store your shredded cheese in the cooler bag. We'll first start by assembling the solar cooker. First, open up 2 of the flaps and insert one of the 4 reflective pieces into the corner. You'll then repeat the same thing on all 4 sides. When you're done, it should look like this. Next, you'll remove the cook box from the bottom of the oven. Explain that this solar oven has specially designed reflective panels to channel sunlight into the black lined cooking box, which can get up to 500 degrees. Place an aluminum pie plate inside the cook box. You'll then add tortilla chips and then cover the chips with grated cheese. While you're doing this, you can also create a second plate of chips and cheese. This will act as the control to give the campers something to compare their solar cooker results against. Next, replace the box in the reflector setup. Next, you'll lead the campers outside to a sunny spot. You'll need to angle the box so that the shadow from the cross made by the chains falls directly on your food. In order for mine to work, I had to use a book to prop it up. This is a front view of the setup. Have your campers observe how long it takes for the nachos to cook. They can also compare the results to your control plate of nachos, which you should set beside the solar cooker. In less than 5 minutes, the campers should observe that the cheese has already started to melt and the box has started to steam. When the campers feel that the nachos are fully cooked, use your oven mitts to remove the solar cooking box from the oven. In just a few minutes of cooking time, the campers should notice a big difference between the melted nachos that were inside the solar oven and the plate of nachos that just sat out in the sun. You can then fix each camper a small plate of the nachos and they can enjoy tasting their experiment. In sun prints, the campers will once again use energy from the sun, but this time it will be to create their own unique picture. The paper they will use is called nature print paper, and it is an ultraviolet light sensitive paper that uses the sun's energy to help develop images. The nature print paper that you will use should not be taken out of its package until just before you're ready to use it. You will also have a black bag to store it in until then. Begin this activity by having the campers search outdoors for flat objects with interesting shapes. Things like leaves and flower petals will work well as they will need to be able to be placed under a flat acrylic sheet. If you do not have a good outdoor area for finding objects, you could also have your campers cut out paper shapes to use. Using a blank piece of paper and the acrylic sheet, have your campers practice laying out their items in the pattern they would like to use. That way, when they are ready to use the nature print paper outside, they won't waste a lot of time setting up everything. The nature print paper will change quickly in direct sunlight, so when you go outside, you'll want to start in an area where the sun's light cannot reach the paper as quickly. Once outside, give each camper a nature print sheet and have them use the acrylic sheet to press their objects down against the paper. You'll want to let your paper sit in direct sunlight for 2 to 5 minutes. This will take longer on cloudy days. The areas of the paper exposed to the sun will fade from blue to white. When you see most of the color disappear from the paper, your print has been fully exposed. Areas of the paper covered by your objects will remain blue. While you're waiting for the paper to change, you'll need to fill your kit tub with water. One at a time, you'll want to have the campers dip their nature sheet paper in the water. To get the deepest blue, leave the paper in the water for 1 to 5 minutes. Just the way the sun's light stimulated a chemical change in the paper, the water will stimulate another chemical change. After the paper has soaked, let the campers lay their paper onto a paper towel to dry. As their nature print paper dries, they will see an even brighter sunprint. After the sunprints have dried, a fun idea is to let the children cut out construction paper frames to place around their pictures. Before the campers go home for the day, be sure to revisit the recycled paper that you made earlier. If they rolled it flat enough, they should be able to write on it like regular paper. Or, if it's too thick, they can frame it and hang it like a piece of artwork.